Hello, Fraser. Delighted to be
Hey
chatting
there.
with you, myself and Steve.
Hi,
How
Fraser.
you?
You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. How you guys getting on?
Yeah, good, very good, thanks. Yeah.
Excellent.
So, Fraser, before we talk about Feed My Read, can you tell us a bit about yourself, what you do in outside life?
Yeah, so live up in Scotland with my wife Kate, and I work in contact centre. So I deal with basically finance.
Okay.
So it's just a contact centre, but compressed shift. So it's like 10.5 hour days.
Ooh.
So it's long days, but
Yeah.
days off I'm able to spend obviously doing the Feed My Reads community stuff. So it's yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Don't
Okay.
you feel tired and you just want to switch off when you get home?
You do sometimes, but it's just that way where you think to yourself, if it's a case that you're spending all your time thinking about your work and doing your work, you know, you have to kind of do something else to decompress. If you sit there and do nothing, you then feel like the next day at work you've kind of gone, right, well, I've not actually made any time of my life here, so I've got to make something happen. So yeah, you end up forcing yourself to do it and appreciating it more when you're kind of sat there and work and having a stressful one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, Fraser. So, have you got a last name? We just saw you were Fraser
Yeah,
and Feed My
yeah,
Reads, and I just wondered any more
yeah.
info about you.
Yeah, so it's Fraser Stupid, and I say I'm up in Scotland with my wife. Yeah, and just constantly, just like say, work out with the wife when COVID obviously restrictions are allowing us to be out and about, going like restaurants or even on walks. Rest of the time, just yeah, feed my reads or sitting and reading. Pretty much, it's the life.
So, Feed My Reads is obviously. Do you have? I guess you probably got a separate Twitter account for yourself, and you have Feed My Reads as a separate one. Is that
just running Feed My Reads? Twitter is literally there. I set up Feed My Reads on Twitter because it was an easier way to interact with people for chatting books, and kind of because of the fact that it was all I was chatting about, that was why it was set up that way. So I've not actually got my own individual Twitter or anything. Yeah.
So what inspired you then to set up Feed My Reads? I mean, obviously you've got a love of books and authors, bloggers and things like that. So it must have obviously something to do with that. Tell us a bit more about
it's obviously a bit of a passion project. So with reading obviously for a number of years, once the ebooks came into play, it was that way where I found that when you were able to go on and get some amazing books that you really hadn't heard of, you know, they were just on Amazon and places, and you were kind of going, I've never heard of this book, but I'm going to give it a chance. And I was finding that these books were brilliant. Going on and trying to read reviews, and I was finding there were very few reviews on any of the platforms. So I realized that probably the best way to do it would be to try and find if the authors were on social media. Went on and searched a few of them out. And I asked them straight. I just said, "Look, you've got a great book here. I'm going to review it, but why aren't there many reviews? What is the case? Do you not have many readers, or what's the situation?" And the authors were always saying, "No, we actually have readers. It's just people don't really review books. They don't really kind of do that, and we can't get the point across to them because they're not interacting with us." And I was like, right, okay, that kind of makes sense. You know, without being funny, I didn't know obviously how important reviewing was. I do it because I want to inspire others to read the book, but to find how important it is and how much it does drive the author sales, and that they were actually striving to do it constantly, but not really getting anywhere, kind of confused me. So I started looking into it and going through different social media feeds, and kind of going, what are other things doing? For example, gaming popular, film popular. What are all these? And yeah, it was just feeds of people recommending things, whereas I wasn't finding much of that with the book world. So at that point, I set up the name as Feed My Reads, started to interact with the authors, started to gather more and more authors onto the community, found they were very inspirational because they were not just pushing their own work, they were actually saying, if you like my book, you'll probably like this author, and this is somebody you should check out. And they were recommending others. And obviously, as I read them, I was reviewing more and more. And as we started to get basically the information put out there to people to say, look, if you're looking for a great book, here's somebody. And I started to see that there was an interaction between authors, and all of a sudden people were reading who just never looked at for finding the author. Once we put forward to them how important it was for reviewing, they actually were kind of more into it. They were right, oh, I'll go and leave a review. I didn't realize I've not done that. I've just not thought on it. And so kind of started connecting with the book bloggers and getting more interaction for these authors to be able to put forward their work. And it's just kind of grown from there. That's basically what it's been. It's been about having that platform for everybody to have an open discussion and for everybody to understand what part they play in that kind of book world as such.
I'm going to say, it's the lifeline for novelists, for writers, is the reviews. I found chatting to a couple of people, obviously the main view and review site is Amazon. A couple of people have said to me, I tried to put a review on, but you have to have, well, A, an Amazon account, and B, you have to have spent a certain amount. I think it's like 40 quid before it will allow you to put a review on. And I think that sort of pushes a lot of people away from writing those reviews.
Well, that's the thing. I've kind of found that some people are worried as well about, if I put forward my opinion, what if somebody doesn't agree with it as well? And it's that fear for people. They're kind of worried about, well, it's just my opinion. I don't know if my opinion matters. And I'm kind of saying to them, well, everybody's opinion matters. Everybody has an individual taste. The fact that you might like a book really where somebody else doesn't matter. The fact is you're saying, this is my opinion on it. And as long as you put forward, it's an opinion, that's fine. The author's happy with that. Even if it's not 100% positive, it's a case that I think this could have been improved on. The author actually will appreciate that because they want to know, well, where is it that I need to develop? That's something that the author wants to know. So I started to do more reviews myself on like Amazon and then Goodreads. And then with setting up the kind of the Time to Feed My Reads blog, I realized that there were the opportunity there to do reviews. And I've put forward to people about now saying, look, if you want to go and read the book and send us the review, we'll put it on our site. We'll put it onto the social media, because I'd heard about authors saying my reviews have all disappeared. Like on Amazon, they've just all of a sudden disappeared for no reason, and I can't get them back. And it's, you know, some of them, it's hundreds of reviews. And I just said, look, if we're on our site, it's not going to disappear. The site's going to be there. It will still be available. If it's the case that your review disappears, you can go and copy it and paste it across to anyone anyway. But apart from anything, it'll be a centralized place for the reviews to be hosted for anybody who wants to do that. And yeah, I've started to get some people sending them across. And again, it's an important place because on things like Amazon and Goodreads, it's finding that book. It's not just going, oh, well, there's a review there. It's actually finding the book. There's so much out there. And especially with like promoted and things, people aren't really going to look for long, because in today's society, you want an instant thing. You know, you put on your Netflix and it's got a recommendation, you hit the button and it's playing straight away. And that's kind of what people seem to want with books now. It's that I don't want to have to look around. I want something to be put to me as that's what you're going to enjoy. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do, is make it so that the reviews are simple, they're quick, they've got a star system. So it's got like a 5-star, it shows you straight away that's what it was reviewed. And then giving them just a quick review of it, putting forward the books on the site, saying, here's the book's name, here's its picture, these are the genres, here's a synopsis of it, and here's a little link for where you can go and get it. Things like that mean that they can just go and have a very quick glance, okay, click, and I can go and get it straight away. So it's having those kind of things to make it so that the book world is more in tune, I guess, in some ways with what we have on everything. You know, with the entire, with Feed My Reads was feeds. It's always what we are looking at. Amazon's just a feed of information, Netflix, Prime, everything is a feed. And with the book world, because we like reading a book, we don't kind of think on it like that. We think on it as a separate thing, but in terms of it, it's still an entertainment, and it's still got to have that way of presenting it to the person. You know, Netflix is a film that you're going to watch, or a TV show you're going to watch. Yes, you got it off of a feed, which made it easier. Same with books. If I can make it that you can get a feed of information that's going to make it easier for you to get that physical book that you want, that's the way that it needs to be, then that's absolutely fine. And it seems to be that a lot of people are now going, oh, well, I didn't know about that book, and they're buying the people's books, and that's great to be able to interact with the author and let them know. And the readers are saying, oh, I got to chat with this author. I never thought they would interact with me. It's, you know, it's really positive in that respect.
Well, you'd have a better clue than me, Terry, because you've got a book published, so you'd understand about Amazon, Feed My Read. So I'm a bit disjointed from all this, so you can comment better than I can. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think a couple of times Amazon has removed all the reviews that I've had. Amazon, it's sort of in theory, it allows you to make changes to edit your book you published. So in theory, someone will contact you and say there's a typo on page 58. So yep, you'll edit it, put it back on Amazon, and lo and behold, all your reviews have gone. I think at one stage I had about 70, and they disappeared. And it's almost impossible to get hold of, speak to a human at Amazon. I did find an email address where I wrote to somebody. They wrote back, so, whoops, sorry, our mistake. Let's put them back on for you. But I found that using social media, I'm chatting to other writers and we're reading each other's books genuinely. And we're generally putting an honest review on Amazon. And Amazon, they have these little bots, these little non-human machines, these nano probes. And what they do is they say, oh, hang on a second. Terry Melia, he's been chatting to, I don't know, another writer, and they've each put a review on. We're not having that. You know, that's some kind of fix. So we're not going to publish it. I can see to some extent that they're sort of rooting out anybody who's sort of, you know, just putting a review on just for the sake of it, just to sort of help a mate. But there's no human interaction. You know, there's no way you can say this is a genuine review. It says, you know, a confirmed purchase, but it's sort of a faceless organization. But it is like the sort of the master in a way. It's allowed so many writers to sort of get their work out there, going past the traditional gatekeepers of agents and traditional publishers. You can publish your own work. But there's something like 6 million titles out there, especially on Kindle.
And the thing is as well, like say with the Twitter aspect to it or the Facebook aspect to it, that person who does the review can also interact with you directly. And that's the great thing, because it's, do you have more coming out? Do you have this? Do you have that? And you can then kind of build up that rapport with somebody and build a loyal kind of customer base or fan base. And with Amazon, it's literally just they put something on, that's it. And there's no more interaction after that. That's what I found quite weird, because if you leave a review of a restaurant and the restaurant comes back to you and says, oh, thanks so much for that, that's actually like, oh, there's validation. They've read it. The person who's posted that review doesn't know if the author ever reads it. That's part of the thing. And I know that. And I remember when one of the authors had a review come in and they said, oh, love that review. And the person that posted it was on Twitter and actually said, oh, I'm glad that you've read my review. They were quite shocked that, that had been kind of taken. And that all of a sudden is an interaction between them, and that builds up a better rapport. Like I say, I agree with what you say. Amazon's huge. It has so many opportunities, but on the other side of it, those opportunities are kind of watered down quite a lot, because there are a lot of books out there, and I'm sure you've seen them yourself, 10 pages, £5 for a Kindle book. And you see the reviews and they're one star.
In a way, that it's got the book out there, and you sort of let the public decide. Anyone can write. I can write 10 pages, or the word X on every single page. Publish it. Exactly. Say I'm an author, I'm a writer. But it depends if anyone will buy it. That plus the number of reviews. And just getting back to the reviews, there's a couple of mine and other writers have said the same thing. That there's 1-star reviews, and you click on the 1-star reviews, and Amazon says nothing to show. Why is it saying that I've got a 1-star and 3 2-star reviews, and there's nothing there? I know you can't sort of leave a review star and then no comment. Well, it's a bit strange, but it's what it is.
No, that is the thing, but it's like you say, you need so many reviews to get to that top of the page to be seen by people, and it's a huge amount of open water as such for people. It's you're swimming against all these people that are dragging some of the books down because they're posting these books that are literally it's a few scribbles, and then they post it and it's like a 2-page and they say it's a book or whatever, so that they can say that they're a published author. And it does kind of water it down. And then there are those authors that it's been a passion project. They've always wanted to publish this book, and they've got it out there, and it absolutely is an amazing book. But it's getting those reviews to get it seen, and that's the visibility aspect to author life is the big thing. And I've read so many of the authors on our Feed My Reads community saying being an author is the easy part. The marketing aspect to a book is the hardest part, because you've got to figure out how to interact. You've got to figure out what they want to see, what do they want to know, and all of the different social media platforms. And I'm not saying that I'm an expert in those, but because I've got some understanding of how to use all of the variety of them, it's helping the authors to go, right, well, hang on, this is actually, I've got all these platforms for you. And if you send me on the information, we'll share on our platform for you, so that you don't have to figure out, oh, well, how do I share a TikTok video? How do I share a YouTube video? You create the video and send it to us. We'll put it out there for you. You don't have to create your own account. And then it's out there and people can start to look at how to interact with you and connect with you. And a lot of them have come back and said, thanks, I'm so, far out of my depth with the technology aspect to it. I like to write. That's what I am, an author. And yeah, I completely understand that. I completely agree that you shouldn't have to know every single social media and how to market yourself like that. you should be able to focus on being the writer. That's the part that's your passion, and that's the part that should be about.
Yeah, as I notice, you've got there's probably nearly 10 different platforms you're using there to try and promote your Feed My Read. So it's, that's how it is for an author as well. They've got to use every avenue open for them. And, you've got Facebook, blog, TikTok, YouTube, Pinterest, Anchor, is it? And Spotify, and, and so on. So there's so much out there. But have you only been running around 7 months now, June 2021?
Beginning of October was when we actually started it. We set this stuff up on like Twitter and that to get the account name and everything, but we literally started doing the actual interaction and posts were from the beginning of October. So we've been going kind of a little over like 3 months.
Wow.
When you see some of the numbers, I mean, the blog is sitting at, I think, just under 25,000 views as of today. So it's getting the information out there. I mean, it's obviously a huge number of articles and things like that, but once the content's there, it's kind of people are going and checking it, and it's having all the avenues for people to connect to that central location. So the blog is a major part, one of the main parts of what we do. But having Pinterest all of a sudden and putting the information on there, going, look, here's all our author interviews, here's where you can link to everything. Just by doing that, I'm seeing like Pinterest at 600, 700 views for the month, and it's just by putting the information on there because people are going on and finding it. So it's not about continually having to push and push. It's the fact that it's there for people to stumble across when they see it, and then they share it. And it's obviously managing to kind of expand. It's very much the ripples in the pond. The more that you've got, it's going to be the equivalent of throwing more and more stones. You're going to have more ripples, and that's going to have a bigger effect. And that's what I'm trying to do with it.
You certainly seem to have picked up quite a few followers, for example, on Twitter in a short space of time. I think I looked the other day, and it's gone up like, I don't know, maybe 100 in such a short space of time, which is quite impressive, I suppose, isn't it? Or you must think it is, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the community is at just over 3,000. I saw it today, and it's because of the fact that we've got great people that are part of the community. So I always call it communities. People say, oh, well, it's you running an account. It's not. It's a community because everybody's interacting like you would in a community. So if an author posts something and says, I'm looking to find out information, I'm going to share that about, and it's going to be that you're then all going to have your say on that, much like a community would. And because of that, and having great people that aren't just all about, I'm going to focus on just being me and pushing my work, everybody's helping and supporting everybody else. And I did say to everybody, the entire point that we base everything on is positive, supportive, and non-judgmental community. So I want it to feel like a safe space for people. Any of the parts that we have, any of our social media, anything, that's what it's all based upon. And it's a case that people are coming on and saying, oh, I've had a really bad day. I've had somebody give me a 1-star review, but not actually give me anything that's positive. They've just been negative about everything. And there was one that said that they were criticized for their bio in their author page, like, on their book, and they were literally slaughtered for the information on that. And the person hadn't even gone ahead really and read the book. They just slaughtered them for their bio.
That's and so you just not think, fair, isn't it? That's
so exactly. Well, that's the thing. And you just think that's trying to sell yourself. That's like, if you do an interview, it's going to be completely different from how you do a job. You could be amazing at the job, but be awful at interviews. That's the same with an author. That's not what their skill is, writing about themselves and selling themselves. They may have a great story and they can put that down and it'd be a phenomenal story. It doesn't mean that their bio is going to read amazingly well. But to see that kind of stuff and be able to share that, and then for everybody to kind of go, no, that's not okay. That's not normal. And to give this author support and say, well, guess what? I'm going to read your book. And that author will listen, have 10 sales that day, and have that they're going to have reviews coming in from these people. That lifts that author, and it means that they then go and say, do you know what? These people are really supportive. And that's how we're getting people. It's not that we're actually going out and kind of doing these begging people, writer's lift style thing, where you're just trying to do it sometimes to get people to follow you. We don't do that. We try and kind of grow naturally. It's a case of if people want to spread the word about us, they'll do it. And that's on the back of how they find us. It's not us going out and selling ourselves being we're amazing. And that's working. It's, people would say, well, sometimes your days are slower. We see between 50 and 100 people a day coming into the community on most days. So it is growing. You will obviously see some people leaving. But a lot of that is things like for example, we seem to get a lot of film stars kind of following us, like film stars they call themselves, and they do these film festivals and things like that are coming and following us, and it's that entire thing of, right, well, why are they following us? And then finding that you've got a film festival that's got like 1.7 million people following its account, and you're going, I don't know how they found out about us. And obviously it's because you've chatted with an author that's a screenwriter as well. And that's what's suddenly happening. And it's finding that offshot of that, and music producers for quite big rap stars in America and that are all of a sudden following us. And you're just sitting and going, I'm sure that they'll realize this is about books, but then you look and they're still following you. So it's that kind of thing that's figuring out what's working. How is it we're getting noticed by these people, and figuring out how, making sure we're getting the right people in, and people are going to be positive. That's what it's all about. So,
Fraser, what I found as well with new writers, there's a constant stream of services that want your money, basically.
Oh yeah,
promote you. I think the fact that you're doing this as a free service, it's a godsend, it's a boon for writers. There is a cottage industry of people who will gladly market your work for you, for what, 100 quid a month or whatever the fee is. And there's that many publishers out there, saying, please send us your script. It's beautiful, this, we publish it, pay 3,000 quid, and we'll run off 500 copies for you, and then leave you alone to do your marketing. So I think it's a superb service that you're offering, and I can see why you're getting the big number of followers.
No, I do appreciate it. I mean, I was quite shocked when I I've seen book bloggers that are out there saying, oh, I'm doing interviews and I'm only going to charge £5 for an interview at this time. And then you watch and it's 5 or 6 author interviews getting posted that one day. And you're thinking, I do it for free and I'll post sometimes 5 or 6, but that's because I'm not expecting like them to have, paid for a service or anything like that. If I was charging somebody for that, I would be going, right, well, it's all about that person for that day, surely. That's, you're centralizing and going, you've paid, I'm going to make sure that and you see 5 or 6 all of a sudden getting posted in one day, and you're thinking, well, that's just money. That's literally all you're doing is money grabbing. It's not about the author. And I had to block somebody the other day, the first person I've had to block. And it was because I was posting author interviews, and this person literally every time on Twitter was just going on and commenting with their book. They would just comment in their own book link and their picture and going, buy my book. And I literally messaged them and went, that author, that's maybe their first interview. It may be that they're really proud of it. They're going to spread that work. It's about them. Let's let it be about them for even 5 minutes, not just jump down through it and try and sell your book. Don't do it, please. And ask the guy, and he continued to do it. So I had to block him. But I put it to the community and went, look, if somebody's getting a post about them, you're positive, supportive, that should be about them. And everybody was like, yeah, completely agree.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's the people in the book community are amazing people. There are so many out there that are positive and supportive. And I'm sure you've seen it where you've gone on and tried to look at an account and gone, looks a good place. And then you find it is people just doing writers left, and it's the copy and paste job. Yep. And you go, this doesn't actually feel like it's anything that's actually like real. It's just something that's, we are very much every day different posts. Yeah, we'll have an author interview, but it's going to be a different person. The author interacts, the readers interact, and all of a sudden you're all chatting together and having a natural conversation. It is that way where we're trying to keep it as a natural feel to it. And that's the big difference. That's what we want to do. It's not just ramming people the throat with, this is the book, buy it. We're going, this is the author, check them out. And then when they check that author out and they go, oh, actually, this person's really great. I've chatted with the author, he's a really nice guy. They'll then be, oh, I've got your book in my to be read pile. And that's the thing. And it becomes that interaction. And I think having an interaction like that, for some authors, it's actually meant an awful lot more, because they've been like, I'm finally knowing who my reader is. This person, I didn't know anything about them, and I've actually learned about them. And I'm so proud to have this person who's read my book. And that's the big thing. I think that's the difference in what we're doing compared to what a lot of the other book community are doing. So they're just post it out there and not care afterwards. We're very much, we're going to put it out there and we're going to see the interactions afterwards, and we're going to be involved in the interaction. We're going to spread the word and say, look, have you guys seen this? Look, that person left this great review, and have you seen that? And then all of a sudden they're all jumping in and saying, oh, I read that book too. I've not left my review yet, but I will. And it is helping to spread that word, and people then are like becoming more naturally thinking to, I'm going to leave a review, because they're seeing it's a normalized thing through the community. everybody else leaving reviews. So I maybe should start doing it more. And it's things like that that will just help to naturally make it become a more normalized kind of feel to it. That's what I'm believing to happen, and I'm seeing it happen very gradually. But we're very much only just start the journey with this, and the fact we're seeing changes to people's mentality already is a great sign.
Yeah, I understand, and that's great. But longer term, and you must have some overheads. And I notice you have a site that does a donate for you. So have you any longer term plans to make money out of it, or is it all about just doing it free, but hoping that you'll get donations along the way to keep you afloat, if you like? I mean, I probably tried to explain that wrongly. I don't know, but yeah.
No, of course. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, the thing with it was a lot of the authors were saying, look, you're doing it all free, and how can we help? What can we do to give back? And they were asking about the money, and I just said, look, I'll set up a coffee page. If you want to go and donate, brilliant. That money is going to ultimately go back into the book community, because it's going to end up being useful, whether it's purchases or buying like the microphone that I use for the podcast kind of thing and all that kind of stuff. In terms of it, we're getting more links with a lot of different publishers. So whether it be independent publishers or large publishing firms, they're coming onto the community as well. They're starting to interact much more. And obviously down the road, we may end up having things which will be, we'll have all the free stuff. We may end up having things where it is going to be that you could have a paid advert on our newsletter or something like that, and have that kind of opportunity for an author. So we may end up offering that, but the bulk of what we do in terms of it is going to be remaining as free. The author interviews, our little things like what's my ideal holiday, getting to know the author a bit better, all those kind of things are there because it's stuff that as a reader I've thought on myself and gone, do you know what, if you see a film star, you really love that film star, you're going to want to see all their films. There are people like that with books. You're going to have an author that you go, I want to read all their books. You don't ever see them interviewed. You don't know anything about the person. But a film star, you could know everything possible, even stuff that you don't really care about. And that's the thing that's different. It's very much a different world with books. And I find it quite amusing that we go, oh, this author's amazing. I would love to read every single book they've ever written. And you go, well, have you actually looked into how much they've written? What have they written? People go, oh, it's not on Amazon. It doesn't exist. No, there are authors out there that have got books that no longer maybe on Amazon, but they're on other sites. If you interact with that person and you do these interviews and you find out about them and, who was your inspiration? Oh, I didn't know about that author. Well, I could check them out. And that's the thing. It's learning that in-depth part to them. It's like, say, I get fed up sometimes of watching the same people interviewed on TV or hearing them on the radio, the same film star or musician, and you hear this entire background story, and it's very much just, it's like a script to them. They've said it so many times. And you ask an author a question and they go, nobody's ever asked me that. And I'm like, why? Why has nobody ever asked that? And I ask people and they go, well, I've never thought to ask. Do you not want to know? Yeah, but I just never thought to ask because they just write the book. They're ultimately human being the same way. So all that kind of stuff, that's very meaningful because it's intriguing for everyone. It's that kind of aspect to it that we all love to know, and it's helping to grow the community and helping to help the authors to get more recognition and that's what it's all about for us.
Maybe to sort of roll up, have you got any aspirations as being a writer yourself?
So I'm very much creative in my the way that I think is very different from a lot of other people. That aspect to it I do. In terms of writing, I've always found that I'm not the best at kind of being able to stick to the project in terms of sticking to the writing, and that's the aspect to it.
Discipline.
I do want to ultimately get one book written, which is just, it's actually because my granddad always wanted to write a book. He'd always wanted to write a book, and unfortunately he passed before he got to, so I've kind of decided that I will write a book that'll have just even the smallest part of what he wanted to write about put into it, just as a nod to him. So eventually there probably will be something that will come out, but it's making sure that it's got quality and that to it. I wouldn't want to publish anything that I wouldn't want to read, kind of thing. So
not 10 pages of extras on every page.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's that way where I've kind of written chapters and I've gone, right, that reads okay, and then I move away from it and think, right, I'll go back to it. And it's just having that discipline to eventually sit down and go, right, where is the story ultimately going, or has this story looked right? Does it need more? Does it need less? It's having all that discipline that I've seen so many authors go, and I've worked on this book for 17 years, and you think, really? And they say other manuscripts have come out during that time, and So yeah, eventually it may come to the point where I do end up writing something. It's kind of on the back burner, but it's always being looked at and thought on, and as well as the numerous other ideas. It's that entire notepads are everywhere and scribbled ideas are everywhere with me.
Not normal.
Sounds like you, Terry, doesn't it?
Exactly the same. I'm looking around the room now. I've got a background on me, but the table behind, there's 2 notepads, the desk in front of me, there's papers everywhere, there's yellow sticky notes all over the wall. Oh, I know exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah,
it sounds like most authors that I know, actually. Yeah.
It is that way. Your mind can be scattered because you're getting so many ideas, and you just have to keep them noted everywhere to try and pull it all together in the end. And that's kind of what I think will happen eventually with what I'm doing with everything.
Oh, well, best of luck.
Maybe you
with that.
could write a book on Feed My Reads in time.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
On that note, I think Zoom is about to say goodbye, everyone. But listen, I really appreciate your time, Fraser. Really enjoyed chatting with you.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's been a great pleasure, guys.
It's been very interesting, Fraser. Yeah, I wasn't sure which way it was going to go and what you were trying to, achieve out of it, but I understand now, and it makes perfect sense. So yeah, great, brilliant, and yeah, I hope it goes a long way. I really do. Yeah.